I swear to God, if this gets announced tonight, I don't know what I'll do. You know what? What am I talking about? By the way, welcome to a news roundup, everybody. We're going to go through quite a few topics today, including some other things I haven't had a chance to speak about on the channel, including some Marvel stuff with Daredevil, something about Star Wars that I wanted to get into. But there's, of course, a bunch of DC stuff I want to talk about first. Superman Legacy, James Gunn talking about a few things, the Superman suit. But first of all, is The Hollywood Reporter bringing out a headline as follows. The search for Supergirl. Millie Alcock, Meg Donnelly screen test in Atlanta. The character will first appear in James Gunn's Superman Legacy before headlining her own movie, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So, we're going to dive into this if you are brand new. The one thing that happens here is I might be a teeny tiny little bit late to covering news like this because of time zone differences and whatnot. Maybe there was another video going up, in which case was yesterday's video. Go check it out if you haven't done so already. But as I usually cover something like this, it would be just my luck if, let's just say, Millie Alcock has been chosen to play Kara, Supergirl, in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, first appearing in Superman Legacy, just as I'm uploading this. So, if that happens, you guys know the drill here. I'm still uploading this video anyway. I'm still going to give you some of my thoughts that you can just translate to whoever is chosen if that happens. I'm sorry for the long ramble and intro there. I just feel like I have to because it might not happen. But I would say as far as 8 times out of 10 or something crazy like that, it usually happens to me. But now, it looks as though, as they're saying, screen tests for the role took place yesterday, according to several sources, with the field now narrowed to 2 actresses. And lo and behold, it seemed to be the most popular that I was seeing you guys talk about. I either want Meg Donnelly or Millie Alcock, so it's down to these. So, of course, Millie Alcock, best known for her work on HBO's Game of Thrones spin-off House of the Dragon as Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, and Meg Donnelly, who starred in Disney Channel's hit musical franchise Zombies and who voices the character in a recent and current DC animated movies, both tested in Atlanta per sources. The article goes on to say Supergirl is a key part of Gunn and Safran's plans as they piece together their slate for DC Studios. Warner Brothers Discovery hired the duo in late 2022 to reset the path, as we bloody well know. Supergirl, who would headline, this is where it's interesting, now the Hollywood Reporter is slamming down on it again, despite what James Gunn said on Threads, where he was like, well, it's difficult for me to acknowledge, certain things out there, and he was blatantly talking about the first initial reports for the frontrunners for Supergirl. Some of us were wondering if it was to do with the Superman Legacy cameo or role that Supergirl will be having, because that's what they're slamming down on here again, in terms of how Supergirl, who would headline her own movie, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, after being introduced in Gunn's own Superman movie. Superman Legacy is a key component of that plan. Which, I've said this, and I'm not saying it's like original thinking or anything, but I've been saying for months and months and months now that I think it would make sense for Kara to low-key kind of pop up in Superman Legacy. Now, what I've always been kind of apprehensive of, if I entertain that chat too much, is the discourse of people saying, oh my god, it's getting so overstuffed, oh my god, there's all these characters, oh what, Supergirl's going to be in there now as well? Well, my thoughts on that has been, look, just because Kara could appear in Superman Legacy, it could be like a really chill scene. Like, she might have not really a significant role, it's more just kind of like exposition, of which this movie has a fair bit of responsibility of setting up for the DCU, because after all, other than Creature Commandos, this is our first proper live-action look at the DCU. So when you have Supergirl already on Earth, as per, what we've been teased with this character before, we've also been teased with how she's like a jaded, more effed up version of Supergirl, as James Gunn puts it, after watching everyone she loved on her planet frickin' die. And then, by the time she meets her cousin, well, he's already kind of active as Superman. I mean, granted, there's lots of blanks we still need to fill, like how long has Kara been here? How long has she known David Corenswet's Superman? She's probably in that stage of her life in where she's really, kind of this, Superman and Supergirl are basically refugees on Earth, if you will. But Supergirl, compared to Clark, who's been here and raised basically as a human since a baby, is probably in quite a bit of a crisis, an existential one, in where it's like, whoa, okay, so not only am I having to get used to life here, I've been struggling, let's just say I've been struggling with that for the past couple of years, because she's been here for a little while. My cousin Clark is already flying around as Superman, and she sees him getting on with his life. life, and who am I? And that will lead into Woman of Tomorrow, I'm sure, and where she goes on that somewhat spacefaring adventure and helps, establish a bit of her own identity. And I just think that, whatever we'll see of her in Superman Legacy, for all I'm expecting right now, let's just say it's Millie Alcock as Supergirl, is that she's there. She could be at the Kent farm having breakfast with Clark and Jonathan and Martha. I don't really expect something too deep other than maybe another kind of little backdoor thing into the Supergirl movie towards the end of the film. But you can literally insert your idea here. There's a billion variations, but try keep it down to something fairly small, because I don't think they're gonna, shove Kara in our faces in Superman Legacy. But I'm just gonna say what I've said before. I really want Millie Alcock to be chosen for Kara for Supergirl. That being said, I would be happy if it was Meg Donnelly. I also have faith that if this reporting is accurate, of which I think it is, if it's being reported again and again, the fact that we have Meg Donnelly get that close as screen testing for Supergirl alongside Millie Alcock, it must mean that, in another world, if she doesn't get it, she could have got it. So she's clearly capable for the role. I'm telling you, man, I vibe Millie Alcock so much for this. I think she has a tenacity, and again, I'm going to admit my bias here through seeing her play Rhaenyra Targaryen on not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. I say this as well, actors act. So it's not like Meg Donnelly doesn't have or couldn't have this demeanor, but sometimes I always say to you guys with my comparisons here, put your casting director's hat on. And sometimes you do go for what, even though an actor can do, they act, they have range ideally, you kind of do go for the vibe check, what demeanor they have, the look they have. There's, despite acting ability, believe it or not, there's all kinds of things you look for when screen testing people or even auditioning them. And what I'd say for Millie Alcock here versus Meg Donnelly, instinctually to me, or vibe check casting director style to me, is that when they explain that this Supergirl is more of literally James Gunn said in other quotes, more of a up version of Supergirl, one who is much more jaded and a different version of Supergirl than what we're used to. I do kind of see her having a bit more of that baggage and playing into that role versus Meg Donnelly. Now, I'm not saying that Kara's got to be a freaking emo through and through in the film. No, I'm just saying I feel like she can display that wave of bloody trauma in this somewhat balanced performance that she'll also give as, the wonderful Kara at the same time. Whereas I'm sure Meg Donnelly can do that as well, but that those are just my 2 cents, and I'm rooting for Millie Alcock most of all. But I know some of you guys are like, nah, I want Meg Donnelly. And I get it. It's we're gonna have to wait and see. And for all I know, it's been announced by the time you're watching this. All right, so up next in the realm of James Gunn, DCU threads, updates, and stuff like that. We're working on a jingle right now, I think, for the channel, because literally it's an actual segment that we cover in most News Roundup videos. Here we have this user saying, hey, Mr. Gunn, just one question. Has David Corenswet used the Superman suit on the screen testing? There's a leak in the internet. I don't know if it's true, but if it is, he looks great as the new Superman. And, oh, man, this is what I mean about those leaks, man. Oh, God, leaks. Fake leaks. So Gunn said, glad you think he looks great, but there's no leak. The only photos taken of David in the Superman suit are on my phone, and I'm standing with him. Now, that is incredible, just in terms of, it's kind of like a no shit Boba kind of thing, right? Where it's like, of course, James Gunn would have something, but it's like, now that, just hearing him, well, not hearing him say it, but you get what I mean. He has the photos on his phone. It's as simple as him going to his photo library like this, and then posting away. And it's like the fact he can do that, and the fact that it's accessible somewhere, it's just crazy. I am dying to see that, and hopefully he will. I mean, of course he will release those photos eventually, but it won't be before filming. So sometime in March or after March, of course. Either way, guys, I think they ran with it as well, because Gunn also replied to this user saying, did David do a wardrobe test in a different Superman costume like Henry did? And Gunn said, yes, everyone who screen tested was screen tested in the previous suit, although David had a hard time fitting as he is so tall. So you have to assume that's Cavill's suit. He said everyone who screen tested for Superman, was screen tested in the previous suit, unless I'm missing something so abundantly obvious here, but that was Cavill. So, I assume he was fitted in Henry Cavill's suit. So I think that's why there's a bunch of Henry Cavill Superman suit fake photos of David Corenswet out there, but the only photos are indeed on James Gunn's phone. Now, speaking of the Superman suit, there's another thing a little bit of a tidbit that I wanted to include here from Dan Marcus. So he says that he's a columnist, a writer, a filmmaker. I really do not know too much about him personally, but I've seen this making the rounds. And he claims by saying and quote tweeting this DC Film News tweet, saying, not that it matters at all, but I heard from a friend who is working on Legacy that the Superman suit is not gonna be what we're expecting and is very curious for how fans are gonna react. Take that for what you will. And then we've had other users saying, have you heard anything about the stories? He says, I can't elaborate, but as vague as this sounds, I have a good feeling that Gunn is going to deliver something really special. Now, the reason why I also wanted to mention this, take that as you will, for like the Superman suit and the person who's working on it, and when he's telling him about the details is, so interested about what people are going to think because it's not what people are expecting, has now got people to think, are we going to get the whole, and I don't know how I feel about this, but I understand why people are saying it, I guess. Are we going to get the whole Superman in the jeans kind of thing with his shirt and a cape flying around before he gets the suit in the movie? Let me put it this way. I want to say I get why people are saying this, because some people want to instantly dismiss this idea because it's like, well, this isn't an origin for Superman, right? But so why would he be wearing a shirt, a jeans, and a bit of a cape attached to that if David Corenswet's Clark has been active out there already as Superman? But I guess it can be argued that even though Superman isn't in his early years, he might be 2 years in, 3 years in, it doesn't mean inherently that he's got a fully blown, fully fledged Superman, kick-ass Superman suit. It could mean that as he's a fully fledged reporter, as Gunn says at the Daily Planet, that he has been going around out there saving people, but not in a fully fledged suit. Like, I think that there is logic to what people are saying there. There is no guarantee that going around as Superman for like 2 or 3 years, or saving people as like this kind of red-blue blur, if you will, even if you're showing your face, it doesn't mean you've got a fully fledged suit. It just means you've been going out there as a superhero without the means to have a kick-ass suit. But at the same time, I would prefer for David Corenswet's Superman to have a suit where we're picking up, because even though I've just played devil's advocate there and given a defense for those who kind of think it, I still don't vibe it. Like, I do think if you are 2 or 3 years in as Superman, you would have some kind of something beyond jeans and maybe a shirt. But again, going back to the devil's advocate thing here, I don't mean to repeat myself. I do see what they're saying, so it is possible. But I do think the reason why I'm also kind of against it is that it does feel more Origin-esque. It does. Like, if we know this isn't an origin movie, even though this kind of contradicts what I was saying at the beginning, I do think the whole trope of earning the suit, or like, the Spider-Man Homecoming, hey, I'm starting off in this, but I'm going to get this, eventually, and hurrah. I feel like if Superman Legacy isn't an origin and Superman has been operating in a world where superheroes and metahumans and villains have existed for God knows like how many decades, doing the thing of where he starts off the movie in jeans, a shirt, and a little bit of a flappy cape attached to his t-shirt, and then, I don't know, halfway into the film, the second act, so you still get some time with the official suit going into the final act. The whole earning the suit thing is a bit of a trope that I think would adhere to more of the origin label. Like, that would tick the box of origin-esque story to me. Now, it doesn't make it inherently an origin, because again, you can go back to what I was saying at the beginning. This isn't an origin movie. He has been saving people for 2 or 3 years, just still not in a kick-ass Superman suit, just in a shirt and jeans. That doesn't make it origin, like a slam-bam origin, does it? No, it doesn't, because he's still been doing it for a while. But I still feel like that this is what I would vibe as still too origin-esque, and I would like him to have a suit. But if I'm being real here, it's something that I can't confirm or deny, because if you want to be as objective as you can be, even if it's kind of against what I would personally want, not saying that I would dislike it, who knows what it could be and would look like and what Gunn might be going for when we first see it. But my preference would be that, hey, he's got some kind of suit that would look even better when he upgrades it in the future. So I think when this person here is saying, the friend who is working on Legacy says that the Superman suit is not going to be what we're expecting and is very curious for how the fans are going to react. As a result, I can kind of see how people are like, oh shit, well, if he doesn't know how we're going to react, and it could be quite different from what fans are expecting, then, you know, somewhat tropey Superman suit might not actually be the case right away. And so therefore, what else could Gunn go for? And that is the kind of, I guess, Smallville-esque approach where you kind of wear a t-shirt, you're a bit of a red-blue blur, or maybe you are showing your face, because at the end of the day, you know, even with a Superman suit on, all Clark is doing is combing his hair back a little bit and not wearing the glasses. So he could still show his face in a t-shirt and jeans. But I don't know, I see why people are getting to this line of thinking. I can't deny it. I wouldn't really want it. I'm just kind of going around in circles right now. I know a lot of people are saying I would hate this. I'm not gonna, like, even though I don't really vibe with the idea of it, I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot. I'm gonna reserve judgment until we see whatever the heck he is doing, whether that is fully fledged Superman suit or not, or whether he's starting in more something proto-Superman suit. You know, it kind of reminds me of, to be honest, you know, Superman Man of Tomorrow, where he was up against Lobo, and there was like a proto-suit. Like, he wasn't in the Superman suit at all to begin with. It's kind of very Superboy approach, or even what they've done on Superman and Lois recently, where he kind of puts a jacket on, maybe some goggles or something like that, and I know people hate that idea, but I just have to give some credence to what people are speculating, because even though I don't think this will happen, it is still a possibility nevertheless. And it doesn't mean that you wouldn't get a Superman suit in the film. It just means that you might have the Man of Tomorrow approach at the beginning, and where Clark is the Man of Steel. He's got a reputation. There's probably, maybe even Lois Lane has written about this man who is flying around and saving people. But what some people are saying as a piece of evidence as well, he hasn't, and as per what can happen in Superman Legacy, he hasn't really had the first grand worldwide international news reveal. Do you know what I mean? Where, like, he might be doing something in public in Metropolis or in some city, and there's choppers filming him, and the red cape is flapping. Like, that moment might not have actually happened yet, even though he has had plenty of news coverage before this, but he hasn't been truly known as the Superman. But he has run into other heroes, this, that, and the other, but all without kind of really having the fully fledged suit. And I believe that he could have even maintained the Kryptonian symbol on the proto suit, because if there's one thing that Clark probably knows with David Corenswet's Clark at this stage, if he didn't have a fully fledged Superman suit, is, hey, I arrived on Earth on this pod, there's the symbol, I'm trying to find myself, Man of Tomorrow style. I'm just going to put something together, and I'm going to put that symbol on me. Do you know what I mean? Never shut anything down until we get the reveal. That's what I would say. Believe it or not, as much as I don't really want it, I wouldn't completely turn my nose up at it right away if it was something. Well, I don't know if I want bloody, a t-shirt and jeans, but I wouldn't be against some kind of proto suit. Even though, I still kind of don't really want it. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, as for the last couple of stories in today's video, one thing that I found really, really awesome, and I want to cover a lot more on the channel because, I used to cover a lot more Marvel news here, but I think I've just been so swamped and tied up in the DC news roundups that I want to bring back the multiple topics or maybe some dedicated Marvel news roundup videos. But Daredevil Born Again, Wilson Bethel returns as Bullseye in the Marvel series on Disney+, which is just absolutely fantastic. As they go and say here, he's reprising his role, sources confirmed to Deadline, and he's set to appear in 3 episodes of the series. Now, 3 episodes is great, but at the same time, that isn't like a bunch of episodes compared to what we know we're getting, even though I think it's been rumored that it's not going to have like 18 episodes anymore. It's kind of been cut down maybe into a season 1 thing and then a season 2 for the rest of the episodes. I'm so glad that they've decided to make this move because I think Disney have kind of realized, like Marvel are like, we really can't mess this up. People have been looking forward to Daredevil, and it's just crazy how everything is 180'd back to like, oh, yeah, let's just kind of make it the next season of Daredevil, Netflix's Daredevil. And as they say here, following a production pause in mid-June due to the writer's strike, Marvel Studios implemented a creative overhaul of Daredevil Born Again, which follows original star Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, and also features Vincent D'Onofrio reprising his role as mob boss Wilson Fisk, and John Bernthal returning as Punisher. But they do also mention here, word of Bethel's casting, first reported by comicbook.com, follows a recent Insider report, so that's Jeff Snyder. I'm sure many people have heard of him because we sometimes refer to him on the channel here. Of the original series, Deborah Ann Woll and Eldon Henson are coming back. So Foggy and Karen are returning. It's kind of crazy because I remember watching on Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. He did an interview there. I recommend it, with Deborah Ann Woll, and she was like, I haven't heard anything. You know, like, they haven't called me. I would love to return. And obviously this is before it even went through its creative overhaul. And man, I mean, I'm sure it's amazing to have been asked to come back and everything, but there must be a little part of them that's like, oh, so you want me to come back now, do you? Hey, you didn't want me before. I just imagine walking onto that set, like, knowing that they didn't want you because they were going this different direction, but obviously they're carrying on with Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie as obviously Matt Murdock, but they didn't care to bring you back, but now you're going back on set, and it's like, oh, hey, you know, it's not like the feeling of, am I really wanted here? Because they've obviously realized that's where the strength really lies, is bringing back people like, you know, Wilson Bethel and, you know, incorporating his Bullseye and, you know, bringing back Foggy. Like, they've listened to the fans, essentially, but I would feel a little bit strange myself, even though I'd be really happy and grateful to return. But I imagine after what happened with Bullseye, you know, given Netflix continuity and the post-credits scene, which is now actually going to kind of lead somewhere, and then Echo with Wilson Fisk, the mayoral run there, maybe it'll be interesting if we actually have Daredevil try and stop Bullseye from getting revenge on Wilson Fisk, even though I'm sure Daredevil will at the same time want to sit back and watch that happen, but he wouldn't exactly let it happen, and he would want things to go down the right way with Fisk by the book. I really don't know what plot they could be following there exactly. Any ideas, let me know down in the comments below, guys. And lastly, Star Wars. I don't cover it as nearly as much as I want to, but also Star Wars is in a bit of a weird time these days. I am a diehard Star Wars fan. You guys know this about me. I don't really need to give you a whole backstory, but let me just put it this way. I thought that I was going to be basically a Star Wars channel before, like, you know, hey, I was covering Gotham, and then lo and behold, things just went from there on out, and here I am today. But as we know, the sequels came out, and this is very much so not really going over the history, but let's just say it caused some controversy. But one thing we do know is that Daisy Ridley is reprising her role as Rey in a future Star Wars movie with regards to kind of setting up this new Jedi Order. Variety asked her this question, saying, you're reprising your role as Rey in a new Star Wars movie directed by Shemaine Abaid-Chinoy. How would a franchise's first female filmmaker impact the series? And she said, the short answer is, I don't know. I'm excited to do the job, but not because Shemaine is a woman. Her documentaries are amazing. Her idea for the story is cool as shit. No spoilers, but she gave me a rundown of the entire story. If it weren't amazing, I would have been like, okay, call me in 5 years, but it's worthwhile. And then they ask, will it be weird to make a Star Wars movie without your co-stars, Adam Driver, John Boyega, or Oscar Isaac? And she then said, no, because I don't know what it is or who is who in the new movie. So much has happened for me since the Skywalker saga. I feel like a grown-up now. When I first started, I was like 20. I was the youngest on set. It took me the first 2 Star Wars films to feel worthy of being there. Now I'm in my 30s. The whole thing feels quite different. I've been able to work with other filmmakers, and hopefully I've got better as a performer. So I just wanted to bring this up to kind of gauge everyone's opinions. Also, you know, get a little bit of my take out there. The thing about Daisy Ridley is I've always liked her. I've never had an issue with her at all. You know, in fact, when The Force Awakens came out, and this is something I'll stand by, no matter how safe that movie played things with what Abrams was going for plot-wise, I really liked Daisy Ridley. I think John Boyega was awesome. I do feel like if they kept to a cohesive plan, you know, at least as of episode 7, it truly could have gone anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, things could have been salvageable if you kind of share similar opinions to me about the sequel trilogy, and maybe how they could have been handled quite a bit better. And the only thing I feel a bit apprehensive about is that, yes, she's coming back for a movie about starting a new Jedi Order. It's just, if you kind of zoom out and look at the brand of Star Wars, like the actual brand of which hundreds of millions, if not billions of people are aware of and who could potentially buy tickets, will people be dying to see, once again, kind of, it's not really an episode 10, but kind of an episode 10. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like a part of the Skywalker saga, technically, even though she called herself a Skywalker at the end, so maybe it should be episode 10. I don't know. I just feel like it did sour or leave a bitter taste in so many people's mouths the way that The Rise of Skywalker ended off. You know, don't even get me started on The Last Jedi, even though that one has, you know, quite a split opinion amongst people. But I think, you know, for me, and this is a bit of an easy answer for me to say, I want Disney and Star Wars to get out of the bloody 80-plus year Skywalker era and go back way into the past, which, funnily enough, they are with the Dawn of the Jedi movie with James Mangold and some other things. But I really want Knights of the Old Republic. I think that could reinvigorate in the audience such a spice and flair for seeing more Star Wars than what I think a post-sequel trilogy movie with Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order could do. But I still will be fair to it and see it for what it is off of its own merit. I would like to think that they've kind of hopefully learned some lessons, and, you know, whatever they're going for here is genuinely a good movie with what Daisy Ridley is saying in terms of how the story is just cool as shit, apparently. But we're going to have to wait and see. So I'd love to know what you guys think of this. Are you interested at the very inception of the idea of, hey, there's a Rey movie in the future. She's rebuilding the Jedi Order. She also says, oh, I don't know who is who or what is what in this new movie. So maybe the idea of John Boyega coming back as a trained Jedi in the future could be a thing, even though there is absolutely nothing concrete on that. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see, but I'm very curious to see what my audience thinks of the future of Star Wars here. But anyway, guys, that is absolutely everything I wanted to cover in this video. It's been quite a long, rambly one. I'm dying to see what you guys are thinking about them, but leave this video a like if you did enjoy it. Do consider subscribing for more news roundups just like this. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see all of you guys in the next video. Goodbye.